Warning, the following video has flashing lights and also includes content that may be deemed inappropriate for some viewers. Viewer discretion is advised. Mr. Barber, ooh, you have again awoken me from my slumber for another episode of Midnight Lycanthropy here on StarFox Radio. Yet I am very hungry. Much better. And now that I am fully recharged, revamped, and Mr. Barber has released my shackles, we once again are going to take a walk into the darkness.
Stood up. I said, oh my god, it's a werewolf, and everybody in the car freaked out.
My creatures of the night, yes, welcome back once again to another episode of Midnight Lycanthropy here on StarFox Radio. We are once again in the Fox Den to sit around the late night fire and burn the midnight timber with Bigfoot's Barbershop, aka Brian Barber. How you doing, man?
Doing good. We actually got to sit down and chat 2 nights in a row. I mean, come on. That's awesome.
Yes, that is some pretty good stuff, man. And I do potentially this week have an opportunity for you to come on with another one of my hosts and sit down and chat. So I'll keep you posted on that for sure. But what else you been up to, man?
Actually, you and I chatted last night about, we touched on it off of the air about doing a Godzilla podcast with history, lore, and culture and how it's persevered through 70 years. And now the younger generation's picking it up. So I've been doing a lot of research because, you know, the show I'm going on is very important, and I love Ryan, so I want to make sure it makes a good impression. So I've been doing Godzilla history.
Great stuff right there. And yeah, I don't know what Tremblay's rolling with for his podcast, if he's sticking with Let Me In or Let the Monsters In, but either way, to the audience, you will know him as the Wendigo guy, aka Ryan Tremblay. So I mean, his links are up in any of the videos, and he's part of the science team here at the North American Dogman Project, our official cryptozoologist. So yes, that's cool stuff, man. You'll have to keep me posted on that for sure, eh?
Oh, I will. Definitely. You know, Ryan and I actually interacted on his post because of Godzilla. You know, to me, the Wendigo was secondary. At the time, he was doing a lot of Godzilla posts. So I knew him as the Godzilla guy before I even knew anything else about him. Now I'm discovering, you know, Godzilla's probably on the third tier compared to Skinwalkers and Wendigo, which is pretty impressive considering how much knowledge he has on that.
Now that's some good stuff right there, and hashtag nerd out. And tonight, to the audience, we are going to head over to India, but before we head over there, I actually have a pretty funny reference to make. how do I describe it? I'm not a fan or opposed to Godzilla or King Kong. I mean, when I was younger, that type of stuff's on. Would I go out of my way to say to watch any of those? No, but if they were presented to me, I don't have issues with them, if that makes sense. But I remember when I was younger, just kind of being pretty potentially not traumatized, but like what the heck? 'Cause I was little, just seeing the old school ones where I don't really think he was being depicted as good or what. He was just destroying Japan right there, and everyone's just being unalived. And it's like, wait a second, wow, this is scary stuff. So
Yeah, and with as many movies over 70, I think this is year is his 70th birthday officially. As many times as people have been laid to waste there, you think they would stop moving back because they know he's going to come back in a year or two.
that's pretty funny. And again, do you ever just feel like, I'm not saying it's Godzilla or King Kong, we're just speaking about that before we dive into some pretty interesting stuff as well, that certain movie titles should just cease to no longer be allowed to reproduce under that title. For example, Return of the Living. I can't really say the last part. I mean, that's an old school movie. It's been going on for a minute. George A. Romario, started that stuff. It's dragging a Christmas tree and it's covered in Christmas lights. And I mean, you had the Crow remake, which was absolutely terrible. And I just feel like we need to sometimes, it's okay to give a nod to it or potentially like a direct, spin-off, meaning like 300, awesome. And 300 Rise of an Empire was awesome too because it didn't try to be 300 too. It legit showed you the Persian side that was happening, which is what Leonidas was mentioning in the first part. To me, I was a big fan of both of those. But then, for example, you have Gladiator and then Gladiator 2. What was the point of that? I mean, you don't have any of the main people. You're just using Gladiator, the title. And I don't know, for some reason, man, I just feel like certain movies just need to make a different spin-off and not be allowed to use the same titles. It's terrible.
Right. Like for me, it's the Highlander movies. I'm a big Highlander fan, and Highlander, the first one was amazing to me, and then the second one was just absolute trash. I mean, they went completely against the lore of the first movie. Everything was totally different. They even went to the point where they re-released it but cut the beginning off because it was so terrible. But Highlander 3 went back to the original, but didn't do as well because Highlander 2 just sucked. And then the fourth one came out, and now they're doing the reboot. Hopefully the reboot has a chance because I think Henry Cavill will make an amazing Connor McLeod. But being as big as he is, the person to play the villain in the movie, the Kurgan who towered over Connor, they're going to have to get like half Thor, Thor from Strongman or Brian Shaw or somebody able to do that.
Yes, no, for sure. And actually, before I respond to that, there are some movies, though, for example, like the new Alien Romulus, awesome. But again, it doesn't try to remake any of the aliens. It's just like a different spin-off of people coming to their craft and stuff. But back to your Highlander thing, I remember seeing vaguely some of that, the movies. I believe Christopher Lambert was the one who played the first one, but I actually was a fan of the dude that was in the show with the longer hair and the black ponytail. He was the man.
Yeah, Adrian Paul was amazing. I thought they did a great job with the TV show because they stuck more to the first movie. I mean, the second movie was just so horrible. They made them out like they were literally aliens from space who got sent down for as punishment for Christmas. And people blew up about it, and they literally re-released it and took the whole alien references out of there. It was still horrible.
Well, to make you feel a little bit better, the only one I could think of that sounds a little bit more brutal than that is, I mean, Jaws 1, obviously legendary. Jaws 2 is okay-ish, whatever. All right, you got to clean up some pieces. But then Jaws is in like what, Disney World swimming around? Like what? What? Okay, now we've totally gone off the complete berserk end. And same thing with like Child's Play. Chucky, man, there really should only been one of those, dude. Because I mean, we're talking about a doll being possessed by like a demon, man, and oh goodness. But yeah,
No, I agree. Jaws 3D was trash. It was the trash that falls through the bottom of the bag and sticks that you got to scrub and stinks for a week.
I know, man, to suck that title dry, but it's awful, man. But all right. So to the audience, though, tonight, like previously stated, Mr. Barber and I are gonna head over to India, and guess what? Y'all are tagging along. So we have 1942, Nanda Devi National Park, Rupkund, Uttarakhand, India, also known as Mystery Lake slash Skeleton Lake. Over 300 human skeletons and random artifacts ranging in time frames are all found clustered together in this one area. Who or what took and disposed of these people? And it's from different time frames, so it's not like they're all from the same type of potential tribe or group. It's from all different time frames. It's really bizarre, man.
So was there like a dam put in or something that maybe caused the backup of the water and that covered a mass gravesite?
Very awesomely thought out question. And I, as far as have been educated, no, I don't believe any of that, because there's some really brilliant minds that have tried to figure this out. And I would have assumed that might have been something, or I would hope that they would have started with. So, yeah, it's super interesting because, like you said, could it have been something like a Pompeii in Rome? Or, is it something, again, like why are these people just randomly there? Was this a treacherous area where people were just falling down in, or was something just kind of chilling in this area because it is pretty remote? Bizarre, man.
Yeah, because I mean, like Pompeii was instantaneous, if I remember right. And if
Yes.
these people are from different time periods, that kind of narrows that possibility.
Yeah,
It almost seems like they're talking about maybe a ceremonial unaliving of people for ceremony.
it is interesting you said that because there are some that show wounds to the head and stuff, which could be, or I should say the skull, because we're talking about remains that are just like scattered everywhere. So, I mean, this could have been from a fall, as you said, something hitting them or during a struggle. It's just really bizarre because, yeah, it's in the middle of pretty much nowhere. So, there's really only a couple reasonings as to why these bodies got there. And I mean, we do know what's occurring here in the United States with missing people and being in national parks and near cave systems. Well, there are caves near this area as well. So it is just pretty bizarre, man.
Yeah, I mean, how many reasons are there for over a lengthy period of time for people to just appear? The remains and stuff. It'd be really interesting to know what that time span is. Was it 50 years, 100 years? All that stuff would be cool to know, to see how long that it went on for.
I know, wouldn't it? And recently I've been watching a ton of this great show on, I believe, History Channel called Forbidden History. And man, just imagine how much knowledge rocks could tell us if they could speak to, just how much they've seen, right? If they were able to translate back to us. Because just if we were able to say, go back in the Neanderthal time, per se, and just be able to see like what it is that they saw and stuff. I mean, imagine finding a prehistoric piece of art depicting something shape shifting or something being upright like a wolf. Because I mean, there is Neanderthal art and stuff. So I mean, we obviously haven't found it all, but that would just be so awesome, man.
Oh yeah, and imagine how much of the Neanderthal art's been lost through time, weather, landslides, all kinds of other natural goodies. But rocks themselves are would definitely be more information, and like being able to, referencing the game Witcher 3, being able to reanimate something and talk to it that's crossed over to find out, what happened. And
Pretty bizarre, man, for sure. So this next one, though, all right, it's 2001, New Delhi, India. All right, what is super bizarre about this is this seemingly falls into the baboon-like dogman we speak about. Also, again, kind of like the cynocephali have been reported to have, baboon-like or canine-like faces. They're depicted, a little bit differently, but similar. And, well, reports begin flooding in of a 6 to 7 foot tall, muscular, bipedal, jet black, shaggy, human like baboon dog animal with glowing red eyes and seemingly wearing some sort of military gear. This gear was consisting of a metal helmet and what seemed to be massive metal claws on top of its hands. This beast began terrorizing people in their homes at night and trying to steal their pets, livestock, and even children. There were over 350 sightings of the eerie creature that were very heavily documented, with 60 injuries that occurred during the scuffles with the animal and at least 2 fatalities from victims who weren't so lucky. This creature was dubbed the Face Scratcher. All right, so what's super bizarre about that is you have something that blatantly looked to be like baboonish and canine-ish to these people. Some other people have said monkey, but then described a baboon. So baboon, yes, and it's wearing military gear. And then on top of its already hands it's got, it seems to have like additional claws potentially built in. I mean, you have a ton of people, like I said, over 350 sightings that have occurred of this. So the odds of all those people making something up and a mass hysteria occurring are slim. Some of those people had to have really had the interaction with this. I mean, you have 60 people claiming they were injured by it during the scuffle while trying to fight it off. And the face scratcher going for the face. It's just really interesting. How do you feel about that?
it reminds me of dipping into the Bigfoot world a little bit. There's one called the Gugway that is supposed to be ferocious and a mistake for Dogman because it does have somewhat of a snout. And those are the ones that, according to what people say, are a lot of them are used by military. They'll see them with tracking tags and ankle bracelets and stuff like that. Although now they're probably microchipping if that is occurring. So the fact that it's wearing military gear, had to be special fit for it. It's not like the soldiers over there aren't that big. So where did it get the military gear? And like you said, there were so many sightings. Obviously, they saw something. Maybe it fall under the Gugway. That's why I had to have the fake claws. Or maybe it falls under like a super soldier program where you got Wolverine, but a little hairier.
Yeah, that's some pretty gnarly stuff right there. And it does sound like the Gugway / Devil Monkey / Baboon Dogman. I mean, I think all three of those are one and the same right there. So that is some straight up gnarly stuff. And just imagine that. I mean, they're already going to have claws. I mean, baboons and such already have claws, or even any sort of ape or such, so they can still have that. And then on top of that, something else with additional claws. That's a heck of a lot of damage, dude.
Yeah, they're not there for wounding people. They are there to finish the job, as we would say, I guess, quickly.
Yeah, super bizarre too, like you were saying. I mean, also the fact that seemingly was it released on purpose just to see the reaction of what it could cause? I mean, the type of damage slash hysteria, or did it escape, or did it purposely want to do this itself? Could have been a person in a costume. I sure, but I mean, it seemingly was moving around a little bit more out of the realm of what a person could, but I can't necessarily say that because if anyone's ever seen parkour, those people do some pretty gnarly stuff where they just run up the side of buildings and hop all along like they are a monkey or something. But I would assume to be in a suit to do that would be a little bit more difficult because I mean they're in, proper athletic type apparel when they're doing that. I don't know. How do you feel?
If you're going the parkour route, the other thing would be not only movement restriction, but the bulk. I mean, 6 to 7 feet tall. It sounds like it had to be fairly bulky if it caused 60 different wounds. And what are the odds of getting into a scuffle that many times and not taking any damage? Does that make sense?
100%. Even like you said, even though the men, for example, over there usually aren't necessarily, like you said, the most jacked up, they're just, kind of more of a natural, slender physique. Yeah, that's a lot of encounters. I mean, somebody's got to have something in their house to bash you with, like a chair, right? Or, I mean, something, correct?
Well, yeah, and over there, they would probably be ready for a different confrontations. Think of all the snakes and everything else they got to deal with there over in India.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I'm sure, the machetes were carried or handy, and it's not like they're the most peaceful people either. So, it's kind of anything goes. And for that to be able to do that much, seen that many times, confrontations that many times, several people got a good look at it. And if they're all saying the same thing, there's got to be something to it. If you get
Yeah.
close enough, you can tell a suit. I mean, if they were that close, it seems like they would have been able to tell it was a suit unless they were so traumatized by getting the taste slapped out of their mouth that they couldn't even comprehend what was going on.
No, you put it the best, like you said. I mean, these people were up close and personal with that. So, I mean, could a person that's 6'7" do parkour? Yeah. In a suit though? Interesting. And also, the heck, man. I mean, if they saw that I had military type like gear on when it was up in their face, it's just really bizarre. And I mean, you're gonna like this reference. I mean, come on. We're talking about fictional here when I say this, but even Riddick would take some damage in a battle. And I mean, he's in a movie franchise and is supposed to be an unbelievable badass. And I mean, even he gets some chunks taken out of him, right? So come on now.
Yeah, if you want to look at some of the better athletes in the world who get uh, criticized because of the fact that it's a choreographed sport is professional wrestling. You see all the little guys doing the flips and ropes and everything else. Anybody over 6'2" is not doing that, and there's a reason for it. They're not comfortable doing that, or they're going to get hurt doing that. Sid Vicious was one of the most. He was pushing 6'8", 310 pounds, and all he did was jump off the rope, and his bottom
Oh yeah.
shit folded in half.
Oh man, that was so brutal, bro. Yes, I remember that, man. No, it's very true, and that's why I'm saying for that, it's just bizarre. I mean, it really is. And the fact that so many people did end up seeing that, it just, well, it's a head scratcher. And there is some more stuff over in India that is pretty bizarre, but we're going to pick out one more here to, see what you will think about this. We have 2020 Corbett National Park, Delhi. Four friends are out camping in a very remote part of the park when suddenly their tent is seemingly attacked and ripped open in the middle of the night as the four friends stare terrified out into the darkness. They see a strange 7 to 9 foot tall, jet black, werewolf-like creature with glowing amber red eyes, screaming loudly while shining their flashlights directly in the animal's eyes and beginning to throw the largest rocks they could find beside them at the creature. It caused the eerie animal to then turn around and run off into the forest. This then gave the four friends enough time to dash towards their truck and speed away. The group was so afraid of what they had witnessed, they decided they no longer enjoyed camping or being outside at night anymore.
Did anybody go back and check things out?
According to them, they did not, because they wanted nothing to do with it. And you actually get to hear multiple people speaking that, which is pretty interesting. But no, as far as I can figure out, no one did. So again, interesting. You have multiple people this time that are speaking about it. But like I always say, where's the evidence? But something that is interesting in there is, as I stated before, any animal is not going to enjoy lights being shined in its face. So, if you are out there in a situation, with something that's nocturnal, yeah, I mean, look what they did. Four of them shining flashlights in something's eyes. I mean, even if it was you or I, that'd be super annoying, dude. I mean, especially if you're been out in the dark for a while and your pupils have been dilated to take in night vision more or less, like with your eyes. Even as people, that's what happens when you're outside for a while. Then all of a sudden you go into a lighted area. It takes a little bit for your eyes to adjust. Now something that spends the majority of the time nocturnal, it's not going to enjoy that whatsoever. I mean, even my friend's dog I go say what's up to across the street, she hates flashlights, dude. I mean, she just starts barking at it, and now, like I said, you're shining this in their eyes. So when you take something that's like a hyper predator or apex predator, it's going to be super annoying. It's going to confuse it like it did. No different than, like a bunch of stripes with a zebra. Have you ever seen with a lion that might be by itself get super confused because there's so many stripes? He doesn't, or she doesn't know which one to go after. So her head's just like left, right, up, down, like, and nothing happens. Well, same thing now. It's like sensory overload. So they're throwing rocks at this thing. It's obviously going to be annoyed because of the flashlights in its eyes. So that's what I say to anyone. If you're out at night, make sure you have something that's loud noises, because again, this has been reported to not enjoy loud noises, which any animal usually doesn't. So again, if you have your vehicle that has a ton of lights on it, turn them all on, start honking your horn and such. I mean, again, think, you and I, would that not be annoying to you? All of a sudden, a bunch of lights on, wah, 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 wah. And I mean, you and I don't even have the best type of hearing or eyesight,
Yeah, exactly. Luckily, I do have evidence to back. You and I have touched on this story once or twice, where I got escorted out, my friend and I, by a reddish brown, what I think was Bigfoot, because I had tracks from that night. I went back and took pictures of tracks the next day. Got some shadows in the trees before I walked in the woods that are 10 feet tall. But when I hit it with the flashlight, it was a 2,500 lumens. And unfortunately, I caught him right in the face, and that right arm came up, and he roared. He was not happy about that flashlight.
You know what that reminds me of too? Like you just said, with the arm up, you being a Sasquatch and Bigfoot guy will definitely be familiar about this. But it's like the Whitehall County, New York State scenario where those two deputies said that when, they drove their car out and shined the light in the thing's face, it roared and it had his hand over its arm like that. And again, that's what I'm talking about. I mean, a squad car, you got all the lights on the top. So you got the green and red going. Then they have their spotlights plus the high beams and then their flashlight. Dude, that's going to be a whole bunch of sensory overload, man.
Yeah. Have you ever been looking through night vision goggles and have somebody hit with a flashlight?
I have not. What happens?
It is a rude awakening because that screen goes from just seeing, depending on the mode you got it on, if you got starlight, your whole, it just goes bright white, like somebody lit one of those firecrackers off, the ones that just go boom when you light them for fireworks. I mean, that's what it's like, a mini explosion in your night vision. And it's hard enough to adjust looking from night vision to regular night, but after having a flashlight in it takes twice as long.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. And same thing, I can attest to that. When I used to do a ton of acting and modeling, dude, when those cameras and the lights, bro, boom, 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 dude, I swear you're like blind after for a bit, man. Your eyes are just like toast. You're like, dude, I can't see anything because it was an all white background, super bright lights, cameras over and over again. And I'm just a person. I'm not an animal with significantly better senses. So again, that's just why I tell people. I mean, there was a case that I had a chance to speak to a woman when she was walking her dog through a residential area that had a ton of people. So in this area, there's a fence though that did separate this community from basically like some forest that was pushed back. And as she was walking, she claimed some sort of large canine-like creature reached over and tried to grab her and her dog, and she started screaming. Well, it's a small community. All the lights start coming on, right? Everyone starts yelling, "Are you okay?" So not only do you have all these lights popping on, all these additional voices, you have her screaming, her dog barking. The thing let her go and turn around and ran because they like grabbed her coat as it reached over, or her shirt. I'm not really necessarily sure what she fully had on. I'd have to go back and pull the file up. But the point is, again, sensory overload. And like we had talked about before, risk reward. I mean, it obviously knew, oh crap, I'm busted. I mean, this isn't going to be smart.
Yeah, the busted part is exactly what I was thinking, because to me it almost correlates, obviously less damage is going to be done. But when you're a kid and you're out TPing a tree, and all of a sudden the neighbor's light comes on, and another neighbor's light, and then you see the one person's light that you're TPing the tree. It's like, oh F, we got to get out of here. So it's like you're caught doing something naughty.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that's really kind of what it seemed like because, as you stated, it's like that case that we had spoken about in Maine, too. I mean, that thing obviously seemingly could have continuously carried that 15-year-old boy away. I mean, yeah, people were coming after him and screaming and such. The same thing in this instance. I mean, there's no way that her dog would have stopped that, and there's no way any of those people that were yelling and starting to come outside would have got over in time to get her if this thing wanted to yank her over. But obviously it didn't want to be seen by the whole entire neighborhood, I guess, because now instead of one person saying it saw you, you have like what, potentially, I don't know how many people were there, but let's just say 20, 30, and then also same thing with that child or that 15-year-old boy, man, or teenager, whatever we'd like to use for terminology. Again, you have a group now of, survivalists that doesn't matter that they're survivalists, but there was a group of them that were pursuing this kid and screaming and stuff. So, yeah, I mean, it seemingly just seems it had to have just realized it's not going to potentially end well for me. I don't know. I mean, nothing else makes sense about that. Why did it just drop the kid if it pulled him that far? You know what I mean? Or why did it just let her go? It Are they both making that up? Is that why? I mean, was there nothing there? Or I mean, like you said, I don't know about you. Like, try anyone out there. I mean, this kid, ran in that case into the forest. He would have had to in the jet black of night. Because I mean, other people heard the branches and stuff breaking. I don't know about you. I mean, back when I was a kid and we would be partying out in the forest, dude. Man, you know how many sticks you take to the face and stuff like that? That's just not realistic, man. To like be running through the forest at night at a high speed like that without any sort of light. It's just not something that can occur. So something obviously grabbed him. Why did it let him go? And why did this thing reach over the fence to grab this woman and her dog, she said. And again, why did it let them go? It just honestly seems like the risk reward isn't there, man. I don't know.
Risk reward, or maybe they've had a similar experience trying to nab somebody else. So they know the consequences of what the screaming and the barking is going to do.
Yeah, which would make a lot of sense too, knowing that, oh crap, last time I numb on this person, well, we had a squad of like 100 people out here combing this area looking for them. So yeah, it's bizarre, man, and it just leaves you like scratching your head, like with these India cases, man. I mean, still, that many people saw this thing just rampaging through India. And I mean, if anyone has ever seen India, in modern day times, there's so many people in that country. It's insane. And I mean, per household, there's a lot of people too. So, like you were saying, man, for that thing to jump into one unit and then wake up a family and then just run through it, that's a lot of people that were having a confrontation with this thing. And man, I don't know. It's really a head scratcher because the people had wounds, so that's evidence. And I mean, people were unalived, unfortunately, which was evidence. I mean, I don't think it was from this thing, but I think it was just from them running away and falling off roofs and just, yeah, unfortunate stuff. But you have all that evidence, and then you have the reported sightings. Again, are there pictures of this thing? No. Okay, which is unfortunate. Are there vocalizations, footprints? No. So there's some evidence, but is there enough evidence to fully verify this? I mean, if you and I were being forced into a, judicial system or in front of people that are super intellectual, that are in the scientific community, and we want them to dive into this topic, I mean, is there enough there that we could present it? I don't think so, man. And that's what's still unfortunate.
Right, especially with the first case. And the second one, I'd really like to see the tent. What did the tent look like? Maybe you would have something then if you had physical evidence on the tent or whatever. But the first one, the fact that I had military gear on still makes me scratch my head. Like you said, did it escape? Was it on purpose? Or was it, literally just like a test run? Let's see what it can do.
Mm-hmm. It's so bizarre, like you said. And as we start wrapping this up, I know, man, the whole thing with the tent, that's what I'm always saying. I understand, like, not going back, but I don't think these people understand that in return, scientific minds and people that want to try to dive into it and solve the phenomenon, we can't do anything like without that. I mean, it's like my science team says, one footprint is really of no use. And people are like, what do you mean? Well, okay, so someone just shows me a footprint with their footprint beside it. That's interesting. That is very interesting. But like my tracker says, man, he needs to see the rest of the terrain. Can I see the other tracks? Like, what was this, a one-legged being that just appeared on one leg, like a one-legged Bigfoot or a one-legged Dogman, and then all of a sudden it didn't have anywhere to go and just poof? I mean, like Nuxium says, he's had it before where he could see that this thing came down the tree and where it put 1 foot down. One, because it had been using the tree. That makes sense why the one track would be there. You know what I mean? But other times, like in the middle of nowhere, where people would send in like to us the 3-toed tracks and stuff, and there's just one track, that seems to me like something like a bird landing, okay? Because the bird would hop too. So if there is another track, but it's just in front of it, that's not a correct bipedal track pattern. And we actually were able to figure out that one time it was a blue herring and it was hopping in the snow. So that's just what I mean about how it's important for people also to understand that, to help us out, to be able to try to get this into proper hands and minds, we just need to be able to understand what's going on. Because I'm not there in that terrain. I mean, I'm not a specialist. I'm just saying, I'm reiterating what my science team says. They have to be able to look at it and understand the area, the foliage, and the type of gravel and such. So they just need as much to work with. So a picture is cool, but a mini video of what that and showing multiple tracks in the whole area is so much more beneficial. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because the video I did the next day gained more traction than the pictures I took that night. Because I took a video of me trying to recreate those footsteps. And you can see me, it takes me like 13 steps to make it as far as whatever made those did in 2. Plus I'm kicking snow all over the place, and these were just perfect inline 23-inch tracks. So it gave a lot more credibility to what was going on than just my picture of my size 15 next to the 23-inch track.
See, beautiful, man. And that's what I'm saying. Don't get me wrong. Now, after you showed us the video comparison, because it shows us actually the size difference between your foot and the track, that's beautiful. But without the video, we can't judge, like you said, the distance that people are walking or this thing could be walking, etc., to try to figure out what the heck its stride length could be. You know what I mean? Because a lot of times people just don't understand and they send in regular canine tracks, okay? And the problem is any canine that's it's got 4 legs, okay? So they end up foot, and then the back foot comes back in and then steps a lot of times in the front patch. So then it makes it look a little bit bigger. But from what I believe, and the majority of us here at the North American Dogman Project, and I know my science team, when you look down at your foot, okay, I'm looking at my foot right now. Now picture the claws on the front and a claw on the back. That is what we believe these potential Dogman footprints look like, okay? Because that is how a baboon's kind of foot would be a little bit too. And if you are going to be bipedal, at any point in time, the foot needs to be built kind of narrow like ours and elongated, okay? You know, like a squirrel or anything, raccoons that are capable of being like that. When you look at bears, they can still do it, but a bear's foot is more rounded. You see what I'm saying? Because it's not necessarily created for it to be bipedal. But even in like the Sasquatch footprints or any sort of ape that can be upright as well, it's got an elongated foot. Does that make sense?
Yep. Because, the tracks, the big one I measured is 23 inches long, but it's 9 inches wide.
Yes, exactly. And that is, boom, showing that it's got the capability of standing quite fine on 2 feet. Whereas, like I said, I know bears walk on, 2 feet and stuff, but the design of their foot still doesn't make it the most comfortable, etc. So no, great stuff, man. And do you have anything else you'd like to touch base on tonight before we let you get back to what you need to be doing, man?
No, I think we had a good night tonight, so I don't think we need to do any more.
Yeah, no, we always do, and I appreciate it. And yeah, anytime you want to bring in something, let me know. But if not, I do have, like I said, this book here, 548 pages, man. I need to add more into it, but I have been working on other things that are a little bit more important, man. Like trying to get my content up and some backed up artwork, and I'll get to it, man. But I went prehistoric style, feral. Yep, StarFox went feral. Instead of putting it into my phone and just transferring it into my book that is in PDF form that it automatically syncs to my phone. Yeah, seems to make logical sense, right? Instead, I just, for some reason, hand wrote down stuff on pieces of paper that are, well, strewed amongst my room. So, yeah, at some point in time, I should probably become civilized like the rest of the world and put it into my book.
Hey, it's not you're not procrastinating. It's just a list of priorities are different.
Yes, exactly. No, it's done and such. I just had other things that are more important. And what everyone else doesn't really realize too, which I do this on purpose, is I always pre-schedule myself a ton of great hosts such as yourself and guests in advancement. But I also always have like, oh geez, probably anywhere from 10 to 20 hours of content that's just sitting in there in the oven getting ready to be cooked up. So yeah, it's great stuff, man. And I always do appreciate you, bro.
I always love coming on and appreciate the fact that you're willing to chat and a platform to chat on.
You legends, you, to everyone that does support Midnight Lycanthropy and Starfox Radio. I do appreciate every single one of you. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Feed the algorithm. And I'll see you very soon.